All right, hello, this is Dynasty Sports. This is episode 2. Sean Jones coming here today. We're so fortunate. I'm going to kind of introduce my guest. He was a Tulsa Webster High School graduate, a stud on the legendary teams of Ernie Jones back in the mid-'80s. I was going to say early 80s, but I'm going to give you a little benefit of the doubt. I believe he went to NEO.
Yes.
Central Oklahoma.
Yes.
His first coaching job was at Bristow. He went to Tulsa Webster. From there, as an assistant, got to be a part of some fantastic teams. And I'm going to ask you a little bit, compare some of those great Paris Graham teams to that senior 94 group. He left Tulsa Webster and went to Miami of Oklahoma. I said Miami of Oklahoma because there's a Miami of Ohio, too.
Yeah. Actually, they pronounce it Miami.
Oh, Miami. Miami, Oklahoma. Yeah. We pronounce that Miami. And then, when I was with him at Webster, and I believe, 95, 96, Mike?
I think so.
95, 96. What was the tournament we went to in Columbus, Ohio?
Yeah, wasn't that the Least Summit Invitational?
No, the one we went to in Ohio.
Oh.
And we won it.
Yeah, that was oh goodness, I can't. Midwest Classic.
Midwest Classic.
Midwest Classic.
And we ended up winning it.
Yep.
And I think that's how you got your Ohio interview. So you went to Ohio and you were a coach where?
I was coach at Clark Shawnee in Springfield, Ohio. I was there for like a year, 2 years, but they were in the same district or the same conference that St. Paris Graham was in.
Oh, really?
Okay, so we're wrestling them, and my boys, which were little at the time, we were getting some evening practices at Jeff Jordan's place, which was like 25, 30 minutes up the road.
And not to expose Jeff, but you say Jeff Jordan's place. Jeff Jordan had a home with a big bunkhouse type.
Yeah, he had his camps, but behind his house he had a facility that was built that was about a mat and a half, and had a sauna, and just it was conducive to just having the Graham kids come over in the evenings and get a little bit of a workout. But that's also where he ran some of the youth kids. He'd put them through a workout 2 or 3 times a week, and so my boys were a part of that. And so one thing led to another, and we started talking, and so here I am. I end up going over there and helping him as an assistant.
How many years?
I was there for 11 years.
Yeah. Oh, you was there for 11 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
But as assistant coach with him for that period of time. But in that period of time, he also runs a well-established wrestling camp, Jeff Jordan State Champ Camp, and it actually has 3 different facilities that he works out of. And he had a young man by the name of Avery Zirkle that was helping him, but Avery moved down towards the Cincinnati area and took over LaSalle, Ohio.
I remember LaSalle.
Coach there. And so Jeff made an offer to me to jump in and help him with the camps. And so I put aside the education side of it for a while. And
for 11 years, the entire 11 years?
No, I just helped Jeff for six years.
Okay.
But I was there as an associate director of the camps for 6 years with Jeff. And so he and I may not have left on the best of terms, but I will say this: I was exposed to some high-level technique. I learned a lot of wrestling. I think I've become a better coach, and also had a lot of good relationships, meeting other people across the state and the wrestling community and stuff like that.
Well, that's the culture of your journey, and that's why you're so interesting. And so St. Paris Graham, 11 years, you come back home, you're a coach at Chandler for
3 years.
3 years, you go to Sapulpa for
a year.
Just 1 year.
1 year.
Sapulpa 1 year, and then Owasso
for 7.
For 7 years. God, this guy.
I know.
This guy. How old are you?
I'm old.
You've been doing this for a while.
I'm old.
And then you got lured by money and smart. People don't understand, but in education, your retirement is based off your highest 3 years. Doesn't have to be consecutive.
Right.
But your highest 3 earnings.
Yep.
In your lifespan.
Right.
And so he goes to Duncan High School, Duncan, Oklahoma, as an assistant principal. Mm-hmm. That I know you didn't stay out of the restroom there. You had to be involved somehow.
Well, yeah, I'd go in there. Ashton Cooper is the head coach, doing a great job, but Ashton would let me come in and just just help. And
Ashton would be very smart if he didn't let you come in,
well,
Coach.
he's a good guy, and he's doing a great job. And Bobby Cook, he was the athletic director at the time, and so he's the one that kind of helped get my foot in the door.
You kind of
and give me an
developed a little
interview.
relationship with him when you were at Wausau in the freestyle.
Yep.
And,
We coached the junior dual team together.
right.
He was the head coach. I was an assistant.
Right.
But we coached the junior dual freestyle team. And and Bob does a great job. I always told him I didn't want to help unless Bobby was
That was
associated.
2 or 3 years?
3 years.
3 years, and then, in my opinion, the mecca of Oklahoma wrestling. I mean, I've not been to Perry, Oklahoma much. We're going to have some clips of the wrestling room, which I love wrestling rooms. I love watching where they go in and have gotten all of this done. We've looked at the trophies are behind us. We've seen the banners in the old Divine Gym,
John Devine.
the John Devine Center, and here we sit in this building. Is called what?
Well, it's the MAC, the Maroon Athletic Center.
Okay.
Yep.
We're at the new, I believe they said 2 years old, MAC. I've never been here, but this is the home of 43 team titles. And I got in this to win team titles, and never in my life was, I believe the first one was here was in 1952, and the last one here has been 2019. And they've got 20 dual state titles. Dual state started in 1989, and they've won 20 of them. Last one was in 2019. And they have 179 individual champions. Historically in Oklahoma, this is one of the, or is the leading school in the nation when it comes to championships. And we're so fortunate to sit down with a good friend of mine and talk about Dynasty Sports things. We see that they've won these national championships, these state championships we've seen, but how's the season going, Mike?
Oh, it's going well. I'd been out of it for a few years, and so I never thought I'd have the opportunity to.
Were you fresh? I mean, did you feel kind of get back into it? I mean, you were out of it for 3 years.
Yeah, your body's got to get accustomed to getting up early, doing junior high practice.
You got a little ringworm on your face.
Oh yeah,
I mean, that's good stuff.
So you got to get used to that. But no, it was good to get back and going again, and I feel like the program is headed in the right direction. Now, it's been a while since they've had the championships here at Perry, and I know they're hungry for it. There's people in this community that will tell you every day, hey, Coach, how much closer are we getting? They're eager to bring the championships back, and that is a good thing. There is a lot of community support here, Sean, at Perry.
I bet.
They love their wrestling. And so it's kind of a double-edged sword. They love their wrestling, but they want results. But I do feel like it is going to make a turn here soon. We have the team that I'm working with right now is in the room. They're working hard. What they lack in maybe technique, they make up for it with their work ethic. They really are just hard-nosed, blue-collar kids that get in there and work hard. So I do feel like we're going to make an improved jump this year, or at least that's my hopes. But we're putting a lot of stock in what we have with the junior high and the youth programs, and we have state championship wrestlers that are coming back and working our youth programs. They're just coming back and paying it forward. So I feel like our program's in really good shape there.
Well, your assistant coach is sitting over here, first year teacher?
Alex Valencia.
Alex Valencia, he's sitting over here, and he's just that type of guy. And I told Anthony on the way over here, I saw that his junior year he took third. Senior year, he said he blew his elbow out in the regional championships, but you also saw on that he took fourth place. And those are the greatest kind of coaches, and that's going to be, he's in a perfect spot to develop with you and what you've done and gone through. I know. Just watching Perry, it's been since 2019 since they won a state championship, and I believe they had a finish that they couldn't hardly swallow last year. Everybody's been in the ups and the downs of this, but I know you're going to get it turned around. That's what you do. You've always been able to step in places, and like I said, you've been cultured to the point of a championship coach, and you deserve, you know, you're probably coached till you're what, 65, 70, and you're going to win multiple state championships, and they'll probably build a statue right out in front of this place, Mike Ryan.
I don't know about that, but you know, Sean, I have had a wonderful opportunity to be mentored and coached by other legends in the sport. You know, I mean, coming up through the Blue Tea program, you know, there was dads that, you know, kick off their work boots and get in there. My dad was one of them. I mean, I can start naming off a bunch of names, and they put a lot of time in there. And then, of course, I go on into high school, and your dad, Coach Ernie Jones, who in my opinion is one of the greatest icons in the sport here in Oklahoma. I mean, what a luxury to be able to learn from him. And then, you know, I go to college, and Coach James, who has a lot of national championships up at UCO, and so I was able to work under him as far as being an athlete. But then even to go to Ohio, I know there was kind of not necessarily something that was set out to do.
But it seems like it was a path that you were destined for, because you're that type of guy. You're the type of guy that, man, you've always loved wrestling. You've always been in a guy that loves to see wrestling, learn wrestling, and for you get to go spend those years at St. Paris Graham. And for you that don't know, Coach Ryan coached David Taylor 4 years that he was at St. Paris Graham. And I don't know if we need to introduce David Taylor, but
he was in the room. I was not the coach, but I was one of the assistant coaches in there, and you know, he'd scrap with David, and David was a lot smaller than he is now.
Started out as a 6'3" pounder?
103 pounder.
103 pounds.
And then he made a jump, I think his senior year he finished at 135. But being exposed to some high-level technique, Jeff Jordan is synonymous with championships in Ohio. And so, you know, I had an opportunity to
All-Americans.
Oh, no doubt. A lot. I mean, well, we could name a lot of names that, you know, and some that I forget. But no, it was a great opportunity for me to have a chance to do that. So anything that I feel like I've been able to do, I certainly have to give credit to those that have come before me and help lay the groundwork for me and make my job a little bit easier.
You know, people would always ask us, you know, where did you guys? I'm like, we watched the guy. We watched the guy, and just didn't have to ask questions, didn't have to. We watched him come home and make his practice the night before in his chair while we were watching TV. We watched the guy just pour his heart and soul into.
No doubt.
And I think more than anything, what he showed us was there's a passion for it. I think we show a passion, and when I say we, it's you. I think we show a passion where we love the kids. Mm-hmm. We want the kids to succeed. And people ask me all the time, what do you miss about it? And I said, I probably miss the teaching part aspect of it more.
True.
Sitting in front of 30 kids in a classroom 4 times a day, and them looking right at you, and you're just filling them full of great, wonderful historical knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And so, well, you're going to do good. I can feel it in my blood. I can feel 44 and 21 coming, and I'll be there for that, because nobody deserves that more than you.
This episode of Dynasty Sports is brought to you by Core Homes, building and remodeling quality home across Tulsa and Oklahoma for over 10 years. From the ground up, Core Homes creates sturdy, lasting homes for your family. To see their gallery, visit corehomesok.com or call 918-688-0721.
So this being your first year, when did you arrive?
Got here to think about August. You know, it was late in the summer. I mean, we were trying to make the move, and I had contractually I had to be at Duncan until I want to say June 20th, something like that.
Right.
Yeah, I had to work through the summer, so I had to fulfill my obligations there, and then of course, you know, selling houses and finding a place to live and stuff. It took a while, but I think we finally got kind of settled in. I know school's starting in August, and we were moving here in August, so it was
Are you teaching?
It was a little hectic. I've got 2 computer classes and 2 credit recovery classes.
Good.
So, I'm in the classroom. I've been an English teacher for the 33 of those years,
Right.
but this is a little bit different gig, but it's good. And then, of course, wrestling in the morning, wrestling in the afternoon.
Well, that's what we're going to get to. All right. So this whole thing, besides getting to sit here and talk to you. Oh, and something I forgot to mention that I don't know if you recognize or knew, but you got the 2018 Assistant Pool Manager of the Year. Pool Management Magazine had you ranked in the top. Mike
good.
and I got to share some time at a country club in Tulsa managing a pool,
Yep.
and kind of got our bond even to be a little bit more closer because we got to put up with those people.
Yeah.
But the A to Z, people just see championships. People just see walking out and destroying a team on a Tuesday or Thursday night. They see that stuff and they're like, "Boy, those guys." But they have a lot of people now here in Perry, Oklahoma, like 50% of the population's wrestled here.
Right.
But for the regular common people, they don't understand what that takes.
Yeah.
And so when you hit the ground in August, what was the first thing at school? I mean, did you just start school or did you have a little time?
No, we were pretty much, starting schools, had schedules and stuff. So yeah, there wasn't a lot of time to kind of get settled in. I mean, you kind of hit the ground running here, which is not primarily, ideal.
Yeah.
But that's just the way it played out. But it was a little hectic at the time, but we fought through it.
You're pretty good at it. I mean, you've got stuff like that down.
I got a good wife that helps me.
You do have a good wife.
Yeah, she does help me get through those times and keeps me pointing in the right direction. But we jumped in here and practices started up shortly after I got here, and I don't know. It's been kind of a whirlwind, but we're in the groove of the season now. So we're.
And that's the thing is you jumped in here and you started, and I've got it. I call it a cycle.
Yeah.
There's a cycle to being a wrestling coach. You're in the first part of the cycle. You're in the season, and you're just engulfed in it. You guys are having Christmas practices. You've got people coming to you, and you're practicing. But you mentioned a while ago, October 1st, we get to start full speed.
Yeah.
And when October 1st came, you're practicing 2 times a day? Is that what you say? You can practice in the morning and evening?
Well, we have a junior high in the morning, okay? And then
And you're getting to be a part of that also?
Yes.
Oh, goodness.
Alex and myself and another coach.
It's a big deal.
We come in and we work the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade group in the morning. And I think we're
6th, 7th, and 8th?
6th, 7th, and 8th. And for a small school, our numbers are about 28, somewhere in there, which may not seem like a lot, but for a small 3A school, that's a pretty good number.
I think that's a great number.
And so yeah, we get in there in the mornings, and then in the afternoons we'd have a high school practice. Now that we're in the thick of the season, we'll have them back for an evening practice and just go for like about an hour, kind of review some of the technique that we did. We don't hammer them as much in that evening practice, but just kind of it's more repetition.
Right.
And get maybe if there's some skills that we feel like we need to go over again.
Kind of more of an individual deal, like if you want to work with certain guys,
it is
kind of get them to work it on.
Yep, very, very much so.
So we go through the season. I don't want to fast forward because you're kind of enjoying. You're right in the middle of this. State tournament's over with.
Mm-hmm.
Win it, lose it, life goes on. I've been on the point to where you win a state championship and people love you and they come hug you for about 5 days. And, it's what have you done for me lately?
Right.
And it starts over.
Yeah.
And what's your plan?
Right.
What's your plan?
Yeah, the fanfare kind of tails off after a while.
Tails off.
And people move on from that. So you enjoy a little window that you get to sit back and kind of relish in enjoying your championships. Or in some cases, you kind of, are sulking
assessing,
a little bit and sit
reassessing.
back and saying, hey, we got to do X, Y, and Z. But then after that, you know, then you get right back into, I mean, Alex and I were just talking about this earlier, either today or yesterday's practice, you know, about what are our plans once the season finishes and we have that end of the year banquet and we want to push this out to our parents and athletes. What are we going to do? Usually I would run a camp, that Okie Elite Camp, and we've had, you know, a lot of, I mean, John Smith helped come to the camp at a time. You know, we've had the Bull from Iowa come in, Isaac Jordan from Wisconsin. I mean, we've had a lot of big names come in and work the camp. So we want to kind of get that camp rolling again. And then I'd put together a summer team.
We had that camp at Owasso.
We had the camp at Owasso. We had it at Sapulpa. We had it at Chandler.
That's right.
So, I mean, you know, we've had that, and that's a good tool to kind of get, you know, you get a chance to kind of push your system that you're developing in your program. You get a chance to push it out to others as you go through the summer. So we want to establish that. We want to put together our summer team so that we can go compete. We've been to Louisiana and Texas and places like that in the summer.
You've always did that. You've taken and created a dual team. I think Tyler Lawley went with you a couple years.
He did go. He was the walking encyclopedia of wrestling. We're driving out to Virginia Beach, and Tyler's, if you want to know anything about what somebody did and what year, go ask Tyler Lawley.
He's amazing. You know, he was always, you know, there's several, Biff was telling a story about we're the dual state finals, getting ready to wrestle somebody. And, you know, Biff's a great mauler of the lineups and looking at it. And Tyler kind of looking over his shoulders. and he said, and Biff's like, God, you know, we've got it. And Tyler said, Coach, we can't beat them. And he was right.
Yeah.
But, you know, we were trying to think a little bit more positively.
Right.
Tyler had it already figured out.
Oh, yeah.
And it was almost to the core
Yeah.
of match by match.
I mean, he's over there. He's over with Rod right now at Broken Arrow. Isn't
Absolutely.
he?
He's a
Doing
highway
great
patrolman.
job. Is he really?
Yep. And he just
Did not
had his
know
second
that.
baby.
I did know that.
Had a
Beth
second
keeps up
baby.
with some of this stuff on Facebook.
Second
she shares
baby.
it with me.
He's a good boy. And, you know,
Yeah.
talking about one thing that Broken Arrow's not had at this place has is as many people coming back and helping. Helping the and get back.
Makes a difference.
Oh, it's what it's all about.
Makes a difference.
It is what it's all about.
Yeah.
All right, so working out every once in a while, 2 times a day. You come back your summer, you get that started, and you guys probably going to do some freestyle. You're going to go to tournaments, but your work rate in the room is going to be what, 1, 2, 3 days a week, 5 days a week?
This episode of Dynasty Sports is brought to you by Yoakum Companies, your local leader in hauling sand, dirt, gravel, and more. From excavation and dirt work to building pads and delivering topsoil, shale, and aggregate, Yoakum Companies get the job done right. Give Dusty a call at 918-636-0913 or go to his website, www.yoakum.net.
No, you know, it's not the same regiment that you'd have in season. I think when we was doing the freestyle, when I was at Owasso, we'd go Tuesday and Thursdays. We'd have our freestyle practice on a couple nights a week, and then of course they're either going to satellite weigh-in or something on a Friday for a competition on a Saturday.
Right.
And again, it's not. And I learned this from your dad, and you hang around him long enough, you would know. I mean, there's certain things that you would peak for. State tournament was always one of the things we'd peak for. So I remember if you weren't in the greatest of shape during the summer, or you didn't perform at the level that you thought you should at a certain event, your dad would always be the first to remind me, hey, what's the most important thing? We're peaking for this tournament right here, the state tournament. And so
Mark Branch.
yeah.
Mark Branch.
True. Yeah, he had
National champion.
losing record going into the national tournament.
To a big name.
But,
example.
You know, we may not be in the best of shape or whatever, but I find the biggest advantage is you're on the mat in the summer when not a lot of people are on the mat. And getting on the mat at that time, that's sometimes where you can make the biggest jumps.
I think it's the greatest advantage. You know, you have 2 kinds of kids. You're gonna have kids in the freestyle, and you're gonna go to your freestyle tournaments. You're gonna try to go to your qualifiers. You're gonna try to get them qualified. The ones that want to be qualified.
Right.
You have a remaining group of kids that I always found was maybe the greatest of time.
Yeah.
And them developing, coming in, getting an hour and a half 3 days a week
Yeah.
in the summertime.
And you do get to focus on some individuals on occasion there as well. I don't know. I think that's a good time. Because, I mean, again, think about it. In February, coming down to the end of the stretch, I mean, everybody's going hard in the room. I mean, they're getting after it, coming back in the evenings. Everybody's doing that, though. You're not making up any ground on anybody. Everybody's working hard there. What about those times when people aren't working, in the summer and things like that?
That's another thing, is I'm opinionated about one of our greatest sayings that we followed was Hayes in the barn. You know, those people coming down the stretch, getting ready to go to your dual state regional states, man, they're coming in at 6 a.m. in the morning 4 times a week.
Right.
They're running, they're pounding the rock, they're doing all these different things. And we'd sit back and have an hour practice in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And because if you're not in shape and ready by February,
Right.
then
I know.
so we would get fresh, and I really think, and I'm kind of biased, and I like my wrestling teams, we wrestled our very best
Yeah. No, you
at
had
the state wrestling tournament.
You had a knack, again, I know you learned from your dad as
did.
well, but you had a knack for having those teams peak at the right time. So, I mean, there's a lot to be said for that.
It's an art. It's an art form, and,
it
and
is.
sometimes it's
Well,
really pretty art. Sometimes it's really not a very pretty art.
and here's the
but
thing, Sean, at Chandler, I remember my youngest son, his senior year, we ended up third in the state tournament, and which was very good for Chandler.
It's very good.
So my next year, the only person that graduated off that team was my son. We had everybody else, Darian Mixon, Heath Gray, Tanner Wall. I mean, it was.
I remember those guys' names.
If you got that paper out, you'd say, this team, right? I mean, we were third last year. We're going to make a run at it. Ended up in 7th place in the state tournament. And it was some unfortunate, I mean, Tanner Wall blew out his ACL at the regional finals, and some people underperformed for whatever reason. So you just, and I think you did a very good job of it. You had to have your finger on the pulse of the team. Every team's different. So just
right.
because of what we did this year worked well doesn't mean it was going to work well for that team.
You're right.
And you have to, as a coach, just be ever present of what is happening day in and day out with those individuals.
Coach Rodney, Broken Arrow's head coach now,
Doing a great job.
used to always say, you can't spell wrestling without rest.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, he said that on the last podcast.
he said that on the last, he had to correct me, but I got it right this time. And he used to say that, and I was gung-ho, and I was wanting to do things, but he was correct. And when I left, he's full bore. Somebody had to remind me, you can't spell wrestling without rest, Rod.
Good point.
And it really does help. So you've been here, we've gotten through the summer, you've had Fargo accolades, you've worked your tails off through the hot. I'm sure, does your restroom have air conditioning?
No air conditioning.
So that's going to be even more.
Yeah, it stays warm. I don't know very many wrestling rooms that have air conditioning.
Well,
There are a few.
the last place that I got to coach was that 4-mat wrestling room they built on the back side of that. And we argued with them. They said, you don't need air conditioning. I was like, we're up here all summer.
Right.
We don't, that other room was 100 degrees. I said, we need some air conditioning. So they put air conditioning. And then, of course, the new facility's got air conditioning.
Oh,
Are
absolutely.
you lifting?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, matter of fact, we lifted, what is today?
Do you have a
Thursday.
weight room over there?
Yeah, we have a weight room. It was another building
But you
behind
have
the wrestling
one
room.
close.
We
Okay.
do have a weight. We just
Okay.
walk them out the back door and into the other
Good.
room. But we'll get our second lift for the week. We'll get it tomorrow, and we don't lift as extensive as we do in the off season.
Are you still following the Holly Evett?
No, I mean,
Yeah.
And let me say, I mean, for those people that know Coach Evett, when he put together program stuff, I just can't think of any. I mean, anybody that
What an expert. What
knew more about that.
Youth is wasted on the ignorant. And I always loved and I respected Coach Evett. But I had no
Absolutely.
clue of what a gift he was
Oh yeah.
to us little athletes
Yeah.
at a Tulsa public school.
Coach Evett was limited on his knowledge of wrestling,
Yeah.
but he made up for it with nutrition, with lifting, incorporating the lifting with the wrestling, with cooling down the room
right.
in the wrestling room. I mean, it was 100 degrees in there sometimes, and Coach Evett had the wherewithal to
Turn the fan on.
turn the fan on and get the room cool.
Because you couldn't, remember Webster's restroom, they had those water heaters
Pinging.
all the way circling that entire room, which that was an amazing room. That in itself was a fairly big room.
Yeah.
And those things and the heat level in that thing, you guys would get out of practice, and us junior high guys would come in there with Coach Jack McCutcheon.
Yes.
And
The general.
that thing had to be 120 degrees, and they couldn't hardly breathe in there. And Coach Evett comes along and says, "This is not the way you train." There was an exhaust fan over there, and he started turning that exhaust fan on, and he proved to us that you could lose just as much weight. You could have just as great. You could have your practice performance went up.
Yeah.
With it not being.
Absolutely.
Now the day before a meet or something like that, you can crank the heat up.
Because you're focusing on your weight.
Yeah, you can get your weight off.
But I mean, we learned, you go 2 hours hard from start to finish with a cooler room and still lose the weight. But they always say you wrestle out under the lights as you practice. And I'll tell you what, when that room was real hot, for maybe the first hour you could go, but then the last hour you were just trying to survive.
Back in the 80s, you could wear your plastics.
Oh,
You
yeah.
could wear your sweat top, sweat bottom over your plastics.
Yeah.
And I couldn't imagine now putting on a plastic. But I can't imagine. I remember in my mind, Mike Lambert.
Oh, yeah. Hard worker.
Toted it up.
Yeah.
Sweat top, sweat bottom, plastic.
Put the hood up.
Had the hood up and just went after it.
But you know what, Sean? And again, were there better ways to do things? Absolutely. But we didn't know that at the time. And our coaches came in and said, "This is what we do," and we did it. And we made it work.
Right.
We made it work because that's just.
Well, that's the way it was.
That's the way it was.
That's how you did it back then.
Yeah.
And maybe Coach Evett and a lot of us changed that philosophy in our minds on how to train and how to get through it.
Very true.
You get through the summer, you start school back, and you've got until October 1st. A lot of people, like Rod, for instance, and I didn't either. Wrestling's a long season. Broken Arrow Open was our first tournament to go to, and it still is for Rod, and that was 3 weeks after fall break. And we would take from October 1st to maybe a Tuesday and a Thursday in the room, like game time, but Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, kids want to go to football games, kids want to, what are you going to do when school starts back up?
Right.
To finish the cycle, because that's the fourth leg of it.
Well, when you're going
How
through
many
there.
football players do you have?
We had 11 kiddos come in after football. So, I mean, that was a
That's
pretty
a
good,
lot.
a
No,
pretty
that's a
good
chunk.
chunk. And we have counting the freshmen that are up there with us, we have 30 individuals in the room in high school
So you've got
practice.
30. Man, that's a good number.
Yeah,
And
no,
then
I feel like it is.
we're going to show, for the people that haven't seen, which I had never seen it because it's off campus. I've been to the Divine Center, and I've got to be in the Perry Tournament Champions 2 years in a row, back 96 through 98. I've definitely not seen this place. This place is brand new. But you didn't get to see the Perry Wrestling Room. And we're going to show that here, as well as Monument Park and trophies and banners. But you look at Perry, Oklahoma, and you look at Mike Ryan, he's going to flip this thing. He's going to flip it to the point that, like I said, Mike, they're going to probably you're going to have to.
I don't know. We're going to work real hard and give us our best opportunity. But I have learned through many years it takes a lot of people. So I'm relying on my assistant coaches to help, and there's, like I said, the youth coaches are in there working hard.
Who are your youth coaches?
We have Jeff Klingelsmith. He's the head coach, and his little boy's a sixth grader and going to be a really tough kid, I do believe. But Jeff gets in there and does a great job, and then
They work at your room?
They work at our room, yes. They'll come in there in the evenings. They're getting ready for the JOC this weekend. And then, Coach Laddie Rupp, he's got a couple boys in there, and he's doing a great job helping there. And then Ian Fisher, who's a 4-time state champ here at Perry.
I remember, yeah.
And I'm sure there's some other individuals that I'm just forgetting right now, but we have a really good core of people that are back in there and helping us. So I know that,
And then
even
you
though
guys, you and Coach Valence, and who else does the junior high mornings?
and I've got a coach by the name of Bain Cerna, and then also another young man that comes over. He's finishing up his degree at OSU named Cade Nicholas. He was a state champ here as well, then went and wrestled at Stillwater for a while. But I've got some good people that are really helping me. So even though I may, every once in a while be the face of the program, it's certainly, I can't overlook those individuals because they're the ones that really help me get the job done. And every program, I remember back whenever your dad was in there, and I didn't really understand the significant role that we played. I do now as I'm older, but your dad had you, me, Brian Rich, Coach Evett. There was some people, and then of course Coach McCutcheon working in the junior high. What a solid crew.
That wasn't bad.
That was the magic carpet rides, what we called it. But we had some individuals that knew how to wrestle.
So the last thing, you got to do this, and I was thinking about this on the way down. How would that have Tulsa Webster team did against the greatest?
Oh gosh.
Could they have hung with them?
I believe so. The Tulsa Webster team was 3rd ranked nationally their senior year,
right.
But the 2 teams ahead of them were private schools, Blair Academy and I want to say Walsh Jesuit.
It was Walsh Jesuit.
Was it what?
It was.
But these are schools that aren't public funded, and so Tulsa Webster was the highest ranked team in '94. They were the highest ranked team nationally for public schools. So, when people find out that I've been in Ohio or I've been to Oklahoma, even in Ohio, people say, hey, this team and the Graham team, what do you think? I don't know. I'm no expert, but I do know that there would be some really entertaining matches. Oh, my gosh.
That little 94 team was special. It was...
If you go back and you look at the lineups and stuff and you know anything about the, wrestling, you can look up and you'll see there was more than one. There was quite a few individuals on both teams that went and competed at the Division I level.
So,
oh my gosh.
And then you go St. Paris Graham. But a lot of people St. Paris Graham went to college, went to Division I college, but not all of them All-American. Not all of them. And that team had Chris Dupree. He was a several-time. Had a Blue Perez, was All-American at a D2. Had Rod Jones, a 3-time. People forget about it. Delaney Humphrey. What could have Delaney Humphreys been?
Yeah.
So that's me and you getting into where people can't understand.
But it is fun to debate that every once in a while. That's kind of what
we got to see those St. Paris Graham teams in person.
Sure. I know
going
you
to
guys went up to Iron Man.
And we got to see those teams and super, just across the board, impressed with those guys.
I will say this, with St. Paris Graham team and that Tulsa Webster team, one thing that they did have in common, the skill level was off the charts. Both teams were loaded with talented wrestlers.
Right.
But the work ethic. I know that Webster had kids that come in and get a second workout, or they just grind through a workout, and it's the same thing. So, whenever you're wondering what's the key ingredient or the secret, boy, I tell you, I know technique and work or skill level is important, but boy, just to bear down and just be tough and get in there and hard work really plays a big part in being
Makes you
successful.
smile as a coach when the piano starts playing itself. When you just sit there and you look around and those guys, it's fun as you got to maybe go, hey, I might want to back off a little bit here because these guys they're ready to go.
Yeah.
And,
I remember one time I was with your dad and Mario Amador, who was a state champ for us, just a monster, but he was having a little bit of a knee issue, and so your dad told me, hey, I just want you and Mario to go over and just drill. I don't want him to go live or anything. You guys just go over and drill in the corner. Well, anybody who knows Mario, he had one speed. It was 100 miles an hour. Yeah, and so we're over there, and I'm supposed to be drilling with Mario, and you know he's clubbing me upside the head and hitting shots and doing all this stuff, you know. And so your dad looks over there after a while, and he said, "Hey, Mike," I said, "I just want you to drill." I said, "Coach, I'm trying. Mario won't drill. He's going just the only way Mario knew how to wrestle."
That was the mentality of those guys, man.
So it's just, but it was very gratifying to be a part of both of those teams. It was fun. It was very fun.
As a coach, I mean, how much did you grow?
Oh, no,
hey, Coach
no
Ryan,
doubt.
you got anything else for us?
No, but you know, I looked on our outline and when I knew he was going to ask that. One thing I do want to say though, Sean, is there's a lot of coaches. Now, this may be a plug, I don't know, but there's a lot of coaches in the state that for one reason or another, they don't get a lot of accolades, whether it's because they may not be at a prestigious school or they just don't have that caliber of athlete that produces championships, but they're working so hard. And so I just want to kind of give a shout out to individuals across the state that I know they're busting their tail, they're working hard and doing the things which I think wrestling, your dad said, it's like the classroom. The wrestling room is another a classroom.
Yes.
And so these coaches are really working hard. We're blessed in the state of Oklahoma to have a lot of good coaches that go in there. And it may not show up on the wins and losses chart, but they're providing an opportunity for individuals to be successful, not only on the wrestling mat, but in life. And if it wasn't for your dad, you know, helping me, I just know this. Wouldn't be here right now having a chance to talk with you about all of these different things that wrestling has provided for us, because it took an individual like your dad, which, hey, people probably, if you know Coach Jones, you know, I mean, he's the coach of Kenny Mundy, an Olympic gold medalist. I, on the other hand, wrestled for Coach Jones. I was not an Olympic gold medalist or a state champ or anything along those lines.
Nor was I.
But I tell you what, he went above and beyond helping me to be successful in the wrestling room, and I think that helped me when I got out of wrestling to be able to do the things that I enjoy doing right now. So I just, again, a shout out to those people, and I was a part of the teams that we were coming up, state runner-ups. We weren't quite getting over the top.
Yes.
And yet, you know, hey, Coach Jones was in there working hard, but it wasn't just him. There's other coaches all across the state that do the same thing. So when you ask me one other thing, that's just the other thing that I just wanted to throw out there.
Well, and I respect those guys too, and I know a lot of them myself, and you telling them if they're interested in sitting down and having a conversation, because that's what this is about. It's Dynasty Sports. We're going to mix it up, Mike. We're going to mix it up. We're going to do, I think my next interview is going to be with a guy, and I'm going to list his testimony.
Oh, that's awesome.
He's went from bad to an associate pastor at a local church, and we're going to do those feel-good stories. We're going to do these coaching stories. I'm going to talk to football coaches. Yeah. We're going to do all of that, and I just appreciate you sitting down.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. I appreciate you coming in here and just kind of reminiscing a little bit.
Yeah, it's
always
kind of fun. Anthony's probably ready to go. My executive, my executive producer, Anthony, is like, when's he going to take me home?
He's gonna hear a lot of stories by the time this is all wrapped up.
I gave him some on the way down.
Yeah,
and I told him how great of a man you were, and hey, thank
thanks,
you. I love
Sean.
you.
Oh, I love you too, brother.
Really, thank you. This is Dynasty Sports, episode number 2. Please subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
This episode of Dynasty Sports is brought to you by CNC Tile and Carpet, Tulsa's flooring experts for over 60 years. From timeless hardwoods to plush carpets, they've got the perfect flooring to handle pets, kids, and everything life throws your way. Go see their showroom floor at 13th and Harvard and say hello to Lil Vernon, or visit their website, cctileandcarpet.com, 918-744-5511.
All right, on the second episode of Dynasty Sports, we're at the Mecca in the heart of Oklahoma wrestling. We're in Perry, Oklahoma. As we kind of span here and look at the facility that they've been getting it done in for a long period of time, looks like 1952 was their first state championship, and they've won 43 state titles, making them the nation leader. And here we're walking up, and of course in 1989 they started dual state championships, and since it started, the Perry Maroons have won 20 of those. So today's episode is going to be brought to you by DBAB Entertainment, and hopefully you guys will enjoy this.
You see some Bison win the state. Big old guy. But you know what?